and welcome back to Behind the Blinds, the random show I made up where I interview all of my bestest friends from season 23 of The Voice. And today I have Carlos Rising. I did it in the podcast where it was Carlos Rising.
Hello.
How are you?
That was great.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
I go to a different place, I just go, and then we finish the intro, and here we are now just talking. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
It's game time. Yeah.
It is game time. How have you been? Good?
I've been good.
You were one of the first friends I made on the show, which is exciting,
Yeah.
fun. We
I'd
bonded
say
over movies.
I'd say the first.
Honestly, yeah, me too. Me too.
I'd say the first.
We were both having an introverted moment when everyone was like first meeting each other, and I feel like it was like, you like movies? Let's talk, my friend.
Exactly. You know, when you're introverted, you kind of find the other introverts in the room, and you have that sort of like, I came up here not to be alone, but at the same time, I could kind of be alone with just this one person.
Level one-on-one conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you do the little thing where you like mingle around and you go introduce yourself for the first time.
Yep.
To all these different people that you've only seen really pictures of. You
Yes.
really know nothing about them. You don't even really know their name. You may have seen their name somewhere, but you don't know the name to the face.
Exactly.
And so then we met, and I was like, okay, I feel actually pretty comfortable.
Yes. Well, what was funny is I didn't know a single soul on our season, but I knew your name only because we worked for the same custom songwriting company.
That is.
There he is.
That is true. Yeah, they're great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was one of those things when you told me that you knew who I was, and it was for that reason. Already, we had a complete understanding of why we were here, what we were doing, and just that it was just going to be a vibe, getting to know each other.
100%.
1,000%.
Yeah. 1,000.
1,000%.
Keep making it bigger. So, I want to hear all about, which I've kind of heard the story, but I feel like we also haven't talked much since the blinds happened.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how it went.
Yeah, so it was a whirlwind, as you know.
Yes.
At this point in the audition process, I think about half the people who were here came to audition at audition, and I was in like the later half. And so there's always this thing in the back of your mind that says, okay, like, you know, if I audition, like, what's going to happen? What is it? Because at that point, you kind of audition, and then you don't hear from that person. So you really have no context of who made it, who's staying, who's going. So you're just kind of left in the dark a little bit, and you can only like speculate about what happened. As much as it is blind for the coaches who have their seats turned around, it's as equally blind for you because you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. You do your like rehearsals with the band and stuff like that, and you get on the same page with that, with your arrangement. There is this feeling of what is going on. And so I felt like that throughout the whole day. Finally, we get through all the nitty-gritty, the makeup and the wardrobe and all that kind of stuff, and I'm waiting back there for my turn. I don't know when I'm going, who I'm going after. It's essentially they just call your name and you just go get ready. So for my song, I sang Change the World by Eric Clapton. And if you don't know that song, you can go look it up. It's great. And it definitely fits my style the best. People ask me what my style or my genre is. I don't really know how to answer it because there's so many influences infused in one thing that I just can't pinpoint it to one. Okay. But I think for the sake of the show, you kind of have to choose one. And Eric Clapton, that sort of like bluesy, soulful rock style, it's very much more laid back and in the pocket, which I just describes my style. And I've known that song since I was a kid. It's the first song I really ever remember.
Nice.
Came out, I think, in 94, 95, which I was born in 94. So I've always just known the song. And so I knew that doing the song wasn't going to be the problem. There were some different things that we did vocally that are a little different from the track, and I kind of had to be creative with that. But at the same time, I more or less had to operate within the song I was given. You know, you get 90 seconds, and you say, how do I make this song not sound like the record, but also sound enough like the record to where I can like bring honor to it, and for people listening at home, be like, oh, this song is great. So it's a nice little happy medium. I went up there and I started the song, and right at the beginning, I realized I can't hear anything.
Oh no.
Which I know is different from your experience because you basically did it by yourself.
Yes.
It was just you and your guitar.
But it is scary if like, I mean, you don't know what the sound's going to sound like that day when you walk in, so it
No,
can be
and
terrifying.
you only hear the other contestants like through a wall, essentially.
Yes.
You can kind of hear, and you can hear pretty well, like you know what song they're singing,
Yep.
but you have no idea how it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get up there, I'm like, I can't really hear anything.
Yeah.
But because I was playing guitar, that's the thing I fall back onto when I can't really necessarily find it in my ear. I'm like, okay, at least I can feel it. In the moment, I felt like I was like, okay, let me find my footing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I just didn't have it at first. And then when I finally locked in, it was like, okay, here it is. But by that time, I really wasn't paying attention to everything else. I had kind of like had a blind eye to the crowd and the coaches. My eyes were open, but in my head, I was visualizing. I was like, okay, find it. And by the time I came to it, I'm like, okay, I found it. I realized Blake had turned his chair, and I'm thinking.
You were so in the zone.
I was so in the zone, and it wasn't until like maybe 10 seconds later, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing the crowd cheer, and I thought it was just because I did.
Just because you did something.
I thought it was because I did something, but then I realized I was like, crap.
You really did something.
And they don't tell you that, like, there's a little behind the scenes stuff, but like you can't hear the psh,
right?
Yes. And that's what I was more or less expecting,
Yeah.
was to hear the big psh as a sign.
Yep.
If someone turned, so when I didn't hear it, I was just like, okay. And then I see it and turn around, I'm looking at him like, at that moment, I let go of every little, like,
ounce of fear or anything.
yeah, fear and nervousness, just because, you work up to this moment, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, it's finally here. And so that's where I chose to, like, kind of live in the moment. Since listening back to it, I was like, I did so much better than I thought I did.
Yeah.
At least during that part.
Yes.
I was kind of accurate when I listened to, like, me trying to find my footing and whatever, but
Right.
it sounded pretty good. I kept going, no one was turning. I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm on a team.
You got it. You're in. Yeah.
And then I do a nice little outro thing. Then Kelly at the last second turns her chair. I was like, why did she just turn her chair? Like, that was the first thing in my mind, was just
Right.
like, what happened?
Right.
And then I'm kind of like in shell shock in that moment, because I'm like, I got 2 out of the 4. That's like 50%,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which is something you always like think about, at least like as a kid, as a high schooler, just seeing the show. You kind of always imagine what it would be like in the moment if you got a chair turn.
Yes.
And
was it like you imagined or not at all?
No, not at all. It was very much like where I should have been filled with like so much joy and excitement. I was just like, what
Yes.
happened?
Yes.
What just happened?
It's a lot of emotions all at once. You feel like you're watching yourself almost out of your body. Like, oh.
Yeah, you kind of take in the surroundings, and then you
Yeah.
kind of feel the gravity of the moment that just happened. Even though, the room is smaller than it appears on TV, right? So it's much more intimate than I thought, but still, you just feel the weight of just like, oh my gosh, like, this is a defining moment. Anyways, to make a long story longer, I got there, each person said their skill, and they probably won't show everything on the episode, but each coach said it was something funny. Chance said he didn't turn his chair because he already had so many soul people on his team. And if you just saw the stack team that he had, like, obviously, there was no room for it. But he gave me a compliment and said he really liked the style of my voice and compared me to an artist. And usually I'm always a little weary of that. Yeah. But when it's coming from Chance the Rapper, you listen and you accept it. I do love.
You adore, yeah.
I do adore, and I've told you that.
Yes.
I told you I was very excited he was going to be on the show.
Yes.
Great. So when Chance speaks, you listen.
Yes, absolutely.
So he said that I sounded like this artist named Jamiroquai. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I need to be educated, please.
Jamiroquai is a mixture of Prince and Michael Jackson when it comes to like his producer ear and his singing ability, and just the way that he writes and performs songs. Yeah. Super cool guy, light skinned guy like me. Mm-hmm. Kind of got the racial ambiguity in there.
Love it.
Right.
Yep.
Most people know him because he had a song on Napoleon Dynamite.
Canned Heat?
Canned Heat.
Yes, I know Canned Heat.
Yes, that's Jamiroquai.
Okay. Huge compliment.
It's a huge compliment because I knew him right away. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And then Niall, your deal, Niall. Yes. He told me, he said, in his really sexy Irish accent.
Oh yeah. Oh,
God,
yeah.
you sound really great. My team's getting pretty full. I have a couple like styles in mind that I want. I was like, that's fine. I
Sure.
don't care.
Yes, of course.
I'm on a team, but thank you. And then he also gave me an artist comparison. He said, you have a small little rasp. And I know what he means. My voice isn't raspy, but there's like this little thing that kind of leans it more to the soul side of things.
Gotcha.
And he said I sounded like a guy, James Morrison. Do you know who that is?
Bruh.
And I remember listening to James Morrison growing up, his first album. And I had that song that was like, you give me something that makes me scared. All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Love that song. And so when he said that, I was like, my boys are just lighting me up with all sorts of just golden nuggets. And in this moment where you're already feeling so, like,
honored and
complimented, like full of emotion, you're just kind of like really overwhelmed.
And really cool that, I mean, when you got a compliment from someone that you look up to so much, like Chance, but that they had artist comparisons that you resonated with and respected, because sometimes people give you those and you're like,
yeah,
do I sound like that?
Every now and then you kind of get like,
well, I covered their song. But
yeah, like, are you saying that because I play the guitar and sing?
Yeah.
I'm racially ambiguous.
Uh-huh.
Or you like me and you like this artist. So like by association,
Of
I
course.
sound like this person.
The Venn diagram of like and like equals that, yeah.
Exactly. I know I'm taking so long.
No, I love it. This is what I wanted to hear.
Blake went first. He was like, man, that was awesome. I turned my chair in the first 10 seconds because I figured if you were playing this song that you were a musician. And he was right. And you know this. As a musician, there is this small part of you that becomes a very large part and sometimes can overshadow the rest of the things that you do where you want to impress other musicians.
Oh, yes. We talked about this with, I feel like rehearsing with the band was like the more important moment for us because we were like, I just want the band who's these amazing
you
musicians
want
like
to
me.
be in the pocket, you want to play the right chords. You don't want them to have to say, hey, do you know what we're playing here?
Exactly.
And if you don't hear anything,
Yep.
that's the great sign.
Yep.
And then furthermore, when they're like, I can tell that you were a musician because of the song that you chose.
Yes.
Meaning that there is some level of difficulty singing and playing it because this song is a very, like, it won Song of the Year at the Grammys in '95. It's a very acoustic, lead-driven song.
Yeah.
And it's a Clapton song,
Yeah.
who obviously is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. That really resonated with me. And then he was like, it's my last season. I think it'd be a privilege for us to go all the way together. Something around that.
Yeah.
He's got, certain people have that suaveness about him. And he's definitely got like that southern charm thing. But in that moment, I was totally like,
Sold.
I was sold. I was like, oh my gosh. Like he, like just speaking to me. Like if he's trying to sell me, like he sold me.
Yes.
And then Kelly goes, and she was the only one who gave me constructive criticism,
Mm-hmm.
which I appreciated.
Yes.
Because I think it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of intentionalness to give somebody criticism that can help them be better, especially when you're in front of everybody.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Right?
And that's her pitch. She's like, my pitch is that I can make you a better singer.
Yeah.
I honestly that
Specifically,
is
she said, I waited the entire song because I wanted to see what you did dynamically. And by the end of the song, which is when I was doing more of the creative stuff that's not on the record, she was like, I thought it was great, but I think I can make you that much better. And she was very like matter of fact about it. She wasn't trying to sell me, which I also appreciated. Yeah. She was like, you can choose what you want, but I'm just going to tell you what you get if you choose me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and beg you.
Yeah.
But if you want this opportunity, I'll get it. So in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they're like, who do you pick? And so the crowd starts yelling all these names. I'm holding the mic like a little kid, mm-hmm. 2 hands.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. What in the hell am I about to do?
Had you made up your mind at all before you went out there? Like, did you have like...
I had my own list in my head.
Yeah.
Just for my own confidence.
Right.
I said, okay, all 4 chairs are going to turn.
Yeah.
This is my order, my picking order.
Yeah.
And I threw it out the window.
Yeah.
Threw it out the window.
For sure.
But because Blake turned right away, and because I figured, okay, each coach has a certain artist that they draw. Niall, they're going to attract more of the pop people. Mm-hmm. Chance is going to definitely be more of the R&B crowd. Mm-hmm. Kelly is going to be a mixture of pop people and also...
just powerhouse singers.
Yeah, just really powerful singers. And then Blake, you have the country thing, right? Or like Southern rock.
Yeah.
And I thought I could stick out the best and operate in my own lane where no one else is on Blake's team. And because of what he said, I thought, let's just go for it. Let's try it. If I would have known that my team was stacked with just amazing people, I probably could have second guessed. But at the same time, everybody is stacked tremendously with all these people.
Yes.
And
you couldn't have picked a team that wasn't stacked, to be honest.
Honestly, no. Everyone's good.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone already feels like they're the bottom of the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just me. Everyone feels like everyone's so good, and I just happen to make it.
Right.
I'm lucky to be here. But then, I chose them, and then that's it. That's what happened.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy that we're on the other side of it now. I'm just assuming because we vibe that I'm like, the music is going to be great, so I can't wait to hear the blind audition. Watch it if you haven't. It's probably out by the time. It will be out by the time.
It will be out.
A more lighthearted question. You received a t-shirt, I believe, that said...
Yeah, I did.
I'm on Blake's last team on The Voice, right?
Yeah, it says, I'm on Blake's last team,
Uh-huh.
and all I got was a Scooby t-shirt. And essentially like a Comic Sans font.
Oh, good.
Which is very much on brand for...
Perfect dad joke.
Yeah, for Blake, the whole thing. And seeing everybody else's merch, part of me is a little jealous. Because, like, chances people...
The
got
hat. I know. The hat. Begs the question. 10 years from now, you're the one sitting in that chair. What would your merch item be?
What a fantastic question.
I know. It can be anything, really. I've heard everything under the sun from people.
The first thing that comes, I'm going to give you a practical one and then like more of a fun one.
Okay.
Practical one was I'd probably give them some sort of like a pack of guitar picks or something, like
Nice.
custom guitar picks that
Yes.
say something about Team Rising or something
Yeah,
like
Team
that.
Rising.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is my real last name. It's not my stage name.
That's
my
wild.
actual God-given last name.
God has favorites, and he picked
Yes,
you for that
he
last
does.
name. That's awesome.
So I would probably do a guitar pick or something like that.
Yeah.
If it had to be an item of clothing, I'd say like if I wanted to be stylish, it would definitely be a hoodie with an embroidered.
Ooh, yes.
Probably just my initials.
Yes, embroidery.
But like it wouldn't be like a CR, but it'd be some sort of monogram that's a little bit like indistinguishable what it is, unless you really know. So it would be in the shape of something really cool, but almost like
very exclusive, like a little I Spy. You have to stare at for a while to figure it out.
And if I had to pick a fun one, it'd probably be mittens.
Oh, why not?
No fingers, just the
Fingerless mitten gloves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
The ones where it flips over.
Yeah, it flips
to
over.
reveal the fingers.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because.
It's the first thing that came to my mind when I said, well, because I gave the practical one, and then I told you I'd give you a fun one, and I was like,
what's fun? That.
I'm not. Yeah.
That clearly.
Exactly.
I'm surprised you didn't say tea mugs. I feel like you were like known for carrying around your tea.
I carry the same mug everywhere I go. Now that you say that, it probably would be a mug.
I love it. But what did you wear on stage?
Everything I wore was mine.
So they didn't even accessorize you? You were like, I have it
The
all.
only thing they gave me actually was the shoes. So I got these really nice boots, gray and black plaid pants.
Yes, I remember now. Good luck.
Tailored perfectly to my legs, my thighs.
Why can't we just all have personal
butt.
tailors?
It was great.
Yeah.
I wore a beige t-shirt that is this really almost see-through cloth.
Bold on stage with all the lights.
Yeah.
So did you wear an undershirt?
I did. I wore not only. I'm getting a little personal.
Okay.
I wore man spank.
Yes. Okay, man Spanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for being honest and vulnerable.
Yeah. Anytime it gets cold or whatever, especially on stage.
Yes.
You never want the peaks to be peeking out. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to get ahead of this.
Yes.
And how can I do this without wearing something that will pop up? Because also the shirt wasn't low by any means, but it definitely was looser around the collar. And I didn't want like a white t-shirt. You know, the tank tops you can see through, right? You can see the...
Yeah, it's basically an ineffective layer. Yes.
Right. And you can still get the colds.
Yep.
But the compression shirt is great because it kind of keeps you warm but not sweaty. Not only did it shape me very well, I don't need shaping really.
Right.
But it gave me that extra bit of confidence.
Absolutely.
The profile.
Yep.
And it didn't really matter. I had a guitar on. But
right. But hey.
Hey, it was for me.
Well.
And then I wore a black jacket. That's what I wore.
Last question I want to ask you is, obviously people are going to see your blind audition. That's just a little glimpse of you and what you do and your music and your voice. What do you hope people can find from your music or get from your music once they start, actually following your journey?
I'll tell you.
Okay, please tell me.
My biggest goal is I want to write music that speaks to people and that people can say, hey, check out this guy. He's got great music. He writes great songs. Yeah. I've always definitely put more emphasis into like songwriting than my own voice. I've always just sung just because it was part of the package.
Yes, you've told me this before.
Yeah, yes. I went to college for music. Yep. I studied guitar. Yep. I've always considered myself a musician first. Vocal was just an added little bonus. Right. So I never really thought that I'd be here just for my voice. Going through college and making a lot of good friends, graduating, I found the love of just writing songs. I said if I ever had to choose between playing live, recording music, or writing songs, if I had to choose one of those, I'd always write songs. Ultimately, I hope that people can find, not that they just like my voice, but see that there's an artist there. If that ends up being in a record deal, or if I continue to be an independent musician. Right. Because I think I've told you, I just do music full time, like you.
Yes.
Like we're just hustling and bustling.
We're out here.
Right. Essentially, I am up for the hustle and bustle after all this is done. And I can't wait to see what happens. But I think it's great.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. And clearly, your coach saw in you that you are an artist. And I think that will come across to everyone who watches. And I know I feel the same way as you because I am also a singer I'm not doing the runs. That's not me. I wish I was Yeba. I'm not her. But one of the things I have always liked about The Voice is I feel like there is room for artists who are artists, like Ben Foldsy types, where it's like, I love Ben Folds. He's one of my favorite artists.
Ben Folds is great, and he's a great songwriter.
Incredible songwriter.
Yeah.
Would I ever say he's the greatest singer on this planet? No, but I love him. And I feel like that's like, you know, we're more the Melanie Martinez types, the types where it's like, that's an artist. And I think people will see that when they see you.
Thank you.
Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. All my handles are the same. It's Carlos Rising. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok. YouTube, if you just go to my Instagram page and like I have like a link tree and stuff I set up. And I also have a blog where I write I love writing just in general.
Yeah.
Try to journal and write all the time.
Cool.
So I decided to make that a blog. So if you want to read my blog, you can go to my Instagram, to my website, and read the blog and stuff like that.
Check out all the music.
Yeah.
Check out all the socials. And stay tuned for the next episode of Behind the Blinds.